please welcome, folks, our guest, the one and only Niall Fraser.
Hello, Alistair. How are you doing?
I'm well. Good stuff. You are fresh from the fight, it could be said, of your amazing activism
Thank you.
last Friday. And for folk who don't know, I'll just quickly give a debrief, as they say. Basically, what it was Humza Yousaf was being interviewed by Ian Dale, and tickets were sold at the auditorium in the Edinburgh International Conference Centre. So you bought a ticket, you went along, and it was a few days after Humza Yousaf had very foolishly, actually, been in an interview. It might even have been in the Fringe or elsewhere, I don't know where, but he had, because he loves talking about himself and he loves talking about his race as well, which is a strange fixation that he's got. But he had said that basically bigoted people should be told to F off, and he had used the F word in full. And, you know, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, because it's very, very easy to portray Humza as a bigot. After all, he has been on, for those who don't know, which is nobody actually, because everybody knows, he is very famous for having been angry about all the white people in Scotland in positions of power. And there's a very famous video that has literally millions of views of him going through all the obscure positions in Scotland. And apparently they're all white people in these positions of power, which is very unusual in a country that's at least 95% white.
Yes, very unusual indeed.
And also, considering to get into a position of power like that, you generally have to be kind of older as well. You have to have had a career as well, which means that means that a lot of recent immigrants to Scotland wouldn't qualify anyway, because they're not old enough, or their career path hasn't gone on long enough for them to be in such a position. So very absurd, kind of bigoted point of view. Anyway, you gave him a taste of your medicine, and let's just play the video so folk can know what you said. Now, we don't usually swear on A Force for Good, but in this case we'll just play the video, which has got over 500,000 views on your Twitter account.
Twitter alone, yeah, 500,000 on Twitter alone.
On Twitter alone.
Crazy.
Let's play the video.
By who? Oh, by usually, please don't take offence here, but usually by middle-aged, conservative white men.
Excuse me, Humza. A few days ago, you said we have to call out bigots and say F you. Didn't you not? Your white speech was the most bigoted thing Scotland has ever heard. So, on behalf of Scotland, fuck you. You're a pestilence on the land. You've thrown women and children under the bus. You're despicable. You should be behind bars.
There's good people here who paid money to listen to the show.
So did we.
I don't need to heckle, frankly, because
Let's go.
it saved my dad from doing it.
Oh,
Yeah, well, I know people who paid money. Well, how did you think you got in?
well, we're not the good people that paid money. We're just the bad people that paid money.
Of course, he said,
yeah, of course, good
that's right,
people paid money, but you know,
good people paid.
there
I
were
didn't.
bad people who paid money as well.
I didn't get. How much did it cost to subject yourself to
I
that?
think it was like $37.50 for 2 tickets. So it wasn't cheap at all. And literally, it was. I have to say, it was $37.50 well spent.
I think it was. So can you just backtrack prior to that? That's lunchtime or whatever last Friday, and what made you think that you should do that? I mean, what was motivating you there?
Well, the idea was to confront Humza. I mean, this has been a long-standing plan, but the plan has evolved over time. So the initial idea was just to simply confront Humza. But then, like you mentioned earlier on that week, it was like divine intervention. He basically gave me full credence to swear at him and to sort of cast his own words back at him in the manner that I did by saying we should tell bigots to F off. So it was a divine intervention in that way. The lead up to it, yes, it was a bit nervous, but I mean, we just get through it. And I mean, it was crazy start to finish. The original plan was to heckle Humza and then on the way out, heckle the entire room. That was the original plan, was to call everybody in the room and say, how can you all listen to this madman, or something to the same effect. So it was basically me walking into the lion's den and antagonising the lions. That was what the plan was to begin with. Of course, we have to factor in, I had no idea how he was going to react, no idea how Ian Dale was going to react, no idea how the crowd was going to react. So we had a couple choice things to say, given the time that we'd had or didn't have, depending on if we get tackled by security and huckled out, you know. But I think overall the plan went, it was a resounding success. And I think overall the comments have been, I mean, it's been an outpouring of support, if I'm honest. And I'm reading all the comments as they're coming up. And thank you so much for all your amazing comments. It's brilliant to see. But this is the damage that we can cause. I'm just a normal, ordinary member of the public. The damage that you can cause with just a camera phone and a voice is outstanding. It really is. And I think we've got Humza on the ropes now. We've got him absolutely on the ropes, beleaguered, and now he's struggling to sort of recover for that. So we've landed critical damage. See, Alan Dawes is saying, I'm amazed he didn't send the hate crime police. Well, technically, I'm just following the First Minister's guidance, guys. I've done nothing wrong. This is why it was divine intervention in the sort of days leading up. And I must issue one apology, and that's to Richard Lucas, the leader of the Scottish Family Party, because at the start of the week, I think it was Monday, me and Richard met, and I told him of the plan to confront Humza. And at the time, it was agreed between me and Richard that I wouldn't swear, I wouldn't stoop to his level. But given fast forward a few days, and he had said that, then I thought it was too good an opportunity to cast his words back at him. So there's one apology that is due, and that's to Richard Lucas, because I did agree with him not to swear. But given the whole context of the situation in its entirety, I felt it was entirely warranted, absolutely entirely warranted. But I would just encourage everyone to take inspiration for this, and that you can do the same. I was going to redonate any donations that I had received to the next person that done it, to the next person that catched Humza out. And then we can sort of start like an ever-growing prize for catching Humza out, or catching these politicians out, just in general. So a resounding success. It was a bit nervous, but I mean, you just get on with the job at hand, I suppose, Alistair.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel for you, because you had to sit through 35 minutes of listening to Humza Yousaf in conversation with Ian Dale, and I would find that very difficult to sit listening to that. I mean, how was that?
It was the longest half an hour, 40 minutes of my entire life, Alistair. Absolutely, it was horrendous. It was waiting for the perfect opportunity. If you listen back to the video, you can tell that it's on the back end of a joke that he's making about race again.
Yes,
of course.
Yes. Just to go into that, because when we played that video there, he's saying something. Just play the video, just the very first 10 seconds of what.
By who? Oh, by usually, please don't take offence here, but usually by middle-aged, conservative white men.
Excuse me.
this it was the perfect opportunity to segue into the whole because obviously my statement was regarding race anyway. So what he's saying there is basically, I think the video's cut off a tiny bit, but what he's saying, who's criticising you? Ian Dale's asking, who's criticising you? Oh, it's middle-aged white men, and to my amazement, the whole crowd just starts applauding. As if it's there's a big sign flashing on the stage, applaud now, applaud now. It was absolutely ridiculous.
Yes, absolutely, and not a good sign. It's like, oh, you can racialize politics that way, but no other way. I mean, we'd obviously prefer that politics were not racialized at all, but it's,
of course,
he wants to do that. He wants to racialize it. He's got form for doing that, and but apparently he doesn't seem to realize, well, that could, you're playing with fire, basically.
He's a hardened identitarian, and he follows that diktat perfectly. And you've seen, this is the next thing we're going, is that Anas Sarwar has made an almost identical speech to Humza. And this is where we go. So this is why I'm facing incredible attacks from Labour as well. So Labour have come after me. Or if you think about it, on the unionist side of things, this should have been universally viewed as one for the good guys.
Oh, yeah.
Universally. Because one, everybody benefits from Humza getting his arse kicked, basically. Everyone benefits for that. But why are some unionists coming after me? Because, well, I'm getting labelled far right, I'm getting labelled extremist. I think you've got an article ready to pull up that I'm described as some foul-mouthed extremist.
Pull that up.
It just gets... and to be honest, when I bought all the papers on Saturday morning, and I had read through all the papers on Friday after the fact, and, they were wrong about me in the first sentence often. They'd said I stood for the Scottish Family Party previously, which would have taken them 2 or 3 minutes to verify, which they didn't. The journalism in Scotland is absolutely dire. Absolutely dire. That we have to rely on citizen journalists, moreover. I just...
Oh, I think so, and that's definitely something that comes over, and it's one of the reasons why we here at Force for Good are trying to develop our platforms as much as we can on the limited resources that we have, including going on to Substack. I know you're also on Substack, but these are just ways to get the message out there, because if we leave it to the so-called legacy media, the mainstream media here in Scotland, they're not going to... they're not going to look kindly on us. That's interesting, though, what you say about coming under attack from Labour, because Anas Sarwar is very much... he's got his own terrible video as well,
Absolutely.
Which hasn't been getting promoted as much, but it's basically word for word, basically what Yusuf has been saying. So that would damage him as well if that was certainly to be promoted. So they're probably trying to do everything they can to say, oh no, this isn't racist, it's just like fair comment. Mm-hmm. Or it's not even racialist, it's just fair comment sort of thing.
Why does Anas and Humza, within the space of a week or two, make the exact same speech? That's not a coincidence. This is identity politics being injected into our system. Something that Scots are universally opposed to. I think Scots, and I believe in the intellect of Scots to see past race. It's not about the colour of your skin. It's about it's your content and your character. So, and I believe Scots are like this. They're very welcoming. But for us to be turned on like this, it's unheard of, and it is totally wrong. And it must be called out at every turn. It must be.
Yeah. Well, you've certainly done that, and you've made a name for yourself in doing that. And these things, I mean, it's just going to get easier, as it were, for you from now on, because once you've made the plunge, as it were, then you realise that how effective it can be. And talking about effective, last time I looked, I think you had 516,000 views. This morning on Twitter. Now you've got, in addition to that, you've got 50,000 views on our TikTok account, because that's that video that you watched there. That's from our TikTok account, and that's got 50,000 views. And I've seen the video throughout YouTube and TikTok as well. So all in all, you have at least 600,000 views, at least, which is serious traction. And
well, prior to this, I didn't even post on TikTok. It's the first video that I've made that's went properly viral, whereas people are taking clips and uploading it to different, Facebook I'm not on, YouTube I'm not on really, but it's everywhere. You can't walk around without stepping on it. And even the best thing about it, Alistair, if I'm honest, is that people that I know personally for back in Cowdenbeath, where I grew up, working class people through and through, they were reading it in the papers, and they were seeing it as inspirational, and sending me support. So it's reaching the grassroots. I've managed to breach the echo chamber, so to speak, which is what we need to do. We need to reach the people that are actually, maybe they're tuned out to politics because it's too much. Maybe because we're obviously involved heavily, we're looking at every word everyone's saying almost on a daily basis, whereas people are just living their normal lives, trying to get through day to day. And these are the people we want to reach. So I'm happy for that.
Yeah, that's a good point about how an event like that can actually reach people who don't normally follow politics, because most people don't follow politics very, very deeply, and for them it's just the same old boring kind of arguments. But something that actually reaches them, stunts as it were, that reach them and make them realize that's funny, or that's correct, or that's brave, or that's unusual, or whatever, gets them thinking, gets them debating, gets them talking. Did you see that guy on TikTok who said whatever? So it's very good. It's very good that way. And so that's what you've done. You've really contributed actually to the Scottish political debate. Although I'd certainly advise Humza not to go about swearing, because when you do that, you give your opponents, as he has done, carte blanche, and then that just creates a kind of downward spiral. So hopefully you'll have learned from his lesson. Hopefully you'll have taught him what his casual foolishness can bring back to him, back down upon his head. So let's hope that he's learned his lesson there.
I think
in future will be more diplomatic and statesmanlike.
From now on, I think he'll be a bit more vigilant in the words that he uses, and very selective about the words that he uses. Although over the last, was it today or yesterday, he's saying that his policies will piss off a lot of people. That's what he said. That's his words again. Is this what you want for your First Minister, guys? Seriously? He's telling you he's going to piss you off? Like, are we living in a mad world here? Is this what we want? Come on. It's mind-blowing what this guy's coming out with. It really is.
Yes.
Scottish politics is like a dumpster fire that's had oil poured over it. It's just overflowing at this point.
Well, talking about dumpster fires, that made me remember that back in 2014, maybe it's the week before the referendum, there was literally a dumpster fire. There was a big one of these great big wheelie bins that you have on the streets went on fire, and it went on fire beside, as it happens, I think it was a Scottish nationalist shop or meeting place or something like that, and a photograph was taken that made it look like it was the SNP place that was on fire and not the actual dumpster. And we're like, I immediately saw that and I was like, that can't be right. Nobody's setting fire to any of that. And actually, the next day, because it was here in Glasgow, I went out and I took pictures of it, and it was in fact just this big dumpster that had gone on fire. Somebody had put a traffic cone beside it and set the traffic cone alight, which had melted all the plastic, which had set the thing up. And I went into the shop next door, and the shop owner, I think it was over on the south side somewhere, shop owner goes, "Oh yeah, that was just on fire yesterday. Don't know what that was about." But it created a huge stir back then, as if other unionists were going about torching places. And I just thought how easily misinformation can suddenly catch legs if at the right time. It's terrible.
Talking about misinformation, if you were to draw up this Daily Record article, I can point out some of the glaring flaws. I think it is that one that's got some errors. But effectively, there was a lot written about me that was just plain wrong.
Yes.
And really, what are the journalists doing? What is their job? Surely they have, what is it, journalistic integrity?
That's the phrase. Yeah. We'll bring it up. I thought it was ready to go there, but I see that it's not. But what advice would you give to people who are watching and who would like to do something like that?
Great question. So my advice to you is to overcome your initial fear of confronting a politician. You're going to get way more support than you think you are. And you'll be able to look your grandchildren and stuff in the eye as things are absolutely going to get worse under the SNP, and people across the land are going to be, what did you do? At least I'll be able to tell them I was confronting the First Minister at almost every turn, and this sort of stunt. This is all it takes. This is the damage you can cause. One man, one voice, one camera phone. And it is critical damage. We've got the First Minister of Scotland on the ropes. We've got him backtracking. So my advice to anyone, just go out and do it. You'll have way more support than you would ever imagine. And it'll embolden you. And it'll, more to the point, it'll inspire others to do the same. We need to, again, I'll keep going back to the speech, but you don't gain respect from being a star. You know, it's true respect and influence is earned by creating stars.
Yes.
So this is what it's about. We need to create the future stars of Scotland. And I can tell you they're in every village, in every town, in every city, waiting to be awoken and waiting to be inspired into action. So Humza Yousaf, heckled by a former candidate for the extremist Scottish Family Party. So straight away, Daily Record, the first sentence is wrong. Categorically wrong. I've never stood for the Scottish Family Party. I'm intending to stand for them in Rutherglen by-election, which this stunt was involved in that, and we've got a lot of stunts lined up in conjunction with this, but I've never stood for them before. But this is what you get from the journalists in Scotland. Andrew Quinn, who couldn't even take 2 or 3 minutes to verify which party I stood for. Couldn't even be bothered for a quick Google search.
Yeah,
you know?
I recall you did stand, but it was for George Galloway's party, wasn't it?
That's correct. It was. I like to view it as a mirror image of the unionist side of Alba, whereas Alba were going for the list vote. They were saying vote SNP 1, and then on your list vote Alba, where they were going for like an independent supermajority. We wanted to take that mirror image on the other side. We've got unionists. They can vote for the best placed person to beat the SNP in their own personal constituency, and then they could vote all for unity on the list to create a unionist supermajority.
Yeah, that's right.
That was the plan, and obviously all the journalists in Scotland hated that as well. You know, basically, I've uppercutted the machine, and the machine is coming after me. And this is the mechanism they're doing it is through the press. By just it's plain lies.
Yes, and let me just read it here. You shouted out excuse me, Humza, a few days ago you said we've all to call out bigots and say F you, did you not? Your white speech was the most bigoted thing Scotland has ever heard. So on behalf of Scotland, F you. You're a pestilence on the land. You're despicable. You should be behind bars, close quote. I think I've never seen that phrase, you're a pestilence on the land, used in a political context outside of the Bible, I have to say. But well done for that soundbite, which was certainly a very original and new one.
That was not a rehearsed line. I had no idea I was going to say that. That just absolutely sprung into me. It was so.
It's the spirit. John Knox. The spirit of John Knox was acting through you there, I think.
Yeah.
So anything else you wanted to say about that particular?
I mean, the particular article. I mean, this is just an example of how bad our journalists are in Scotland. You know, it would have taken Andrew Quinn 5 minutes or less to confirm what he'd written in the article. You know, 5 minutes or less. I think that it's been edited online, on the online versions of it, but in print, it hasn't been. But what I would say is that if I'm talking about the election coming forward and the Rutherglen and Hamilton West by-election, if we're going to win, and every political analyst in Scotland will tell you that there's no way you can go from 0 to winning an election. It just is not possible. Well, it is if you're campaigning in a different manner like me. I'm calling it campaigning 2.0, where we're just going to do a series of stunts over and over and over again. I think I might even try to chase Patrick Harvey on a bike or something like that. You know what I mean?
Don't give too much away at this stage. But yeah.
We need some sort of action. The people are crying out for action. We've been absolutely destroyed. Our livelihoods are being taken away from us. Our freedoms are taken away with us. Our own First Minister is telling us that he's going to piss us off. We need action, and people respond to the action. It's different when you just make a wee video for the comfort of your home, like we're doing right now, Alistair, but that's totally different, and you're not guilty of this yourself, but the keyboard warriors, we need to take those keyboard warriors and then add them into the flesh so that they can then aim their attack at someone in the flesh. You know what I mean? It's we need to take it off the digital sphere and then onto the street. You know.
Well, you're the man to do that, and I don't know if you do meet Humza, maybe you could give him a packet of these digestives. Digestives, white.
I think I would love them biscuits, by the way. I think I would. I love digestive biscuits, especially McVitie's digestives. Somebody said I was getting accused of putting up a Nazi salute there. That was, if you look at the video, come on. They'll try to label you with absolutely everything.
Pointing, for example, they'll try. But he was the. If we just get rid of the Twitter banner at the moment, we'll just put this up, and well, there you see the whole crowd now. How many people did that seat?
So auditorium? I think the theatre was in between 130, 150 at seat. So as you can see from the picture, it's very sparsely.
It's about
occupied.
a third full. I think there's around about 55 people there. Around about a third full in that case. So, it's not a particular... Well, it's very poor turnout, actually. But
you would think a lot of people would like to hear the First Minister speak. You would think that.
I think we hear him enough, quite frankly, on the television, and everything he's coming out with, it's just worse and worse. I mean, yesterday he had an article in The Guardian complaining about quote-unquote toxic masculinity in Scotland. I don't know if you saw that, but I mean, that's really, that's all the usual buzzwords, all the usual phrases. Before you know it, toxic masculinity will be added to the hate speech crimes. Well, actually, I think misogyny. I think they want to add misogyny, however they may define that, to the Hate Crime Act. So nothing's going to get better under Humza, or indeed under the SNP, or indeed under the Greens. And so we need people like yourself to to be doing what you're doing. And thank you so much for that. And we'll just run through how to contact you. We can contact you
best ways. I'm most active on Twitter. I am sort of trying to work out TikTok, whatever it is. Just sometimes I think I'm doing TikTok wrong. It's just a barrage of videos and information at TikTok. As soon as you open the app, it's attacking you straight away. So I'm trying to work my way through that. But
so you're at the moment you're on twitter.com/Niall Fraser 8. That's NIALLFRASER 8 for those of us who are listening on the podcast. You're on niallfraser8.substack.com. And for those who want to say congratulations and I'd love to buy that man a drink, you can at least buy him a coffee at ko-fi.com/Niall Fraser 8. That's ko-fi.com Niall Fraser 8.
Just make sure that it's not a flat white.
Yes, indeed. So on that happy note, let's draw this to a conclusion. I think we could talk all night, quite frankly, and maybe we need to look into doing a special program about that, and we'll certainly be keeping in touch with you during the Rutherglen and Hamilton by-election, which will be coming up sometime in October. So looking forward to that. And wishing you the best of luck. And folk out there, please help, please support Niall, and please pray for him as well. And please help to buy him a coffee at ko-fi.com/Niall Fraser.
And if it's not a big deal if you can't, even if you just send a wee message of support, honestly, that goes just as much as giving me money. It really does. Sometimes I don't like asking for money at all, and that's why
other people have to do it on your behalf. Absolutely. So Alan says that was excellent. Niall, let's say good night and all the very best to you.
All right. Good night, Alistair. Pleasure as always, and thanks for all the great comments, guys. Have a great evening.
Take care.